I'm really excited to welcome you all to our first webcast, which is Talking Local. It's the first of a series that we're going to do, and we're going to be discussing the secrets of brand implementation and activation in sectors that operate through local partners, whether those are retailers, branches, dealers, franchises, or anything in between. So in the session that we're doing today, we're going to be talking about the hospitality and food and beverage sectors and the value of marketing locally for this particular sector, and how to deliver a consistent and effective brand experience across these multiple decentralized food and beverage outlets. So hopefully by the end of it, we'll have talked about how to fully immerse local partners in your brand, leveraging the value of those local partners and making marketing easier for them. And we'll give you some actionable insights and ideas that you'll be able to take away and really get your local network working with you as an extension of your central marketing team, which is the big win, really. So I'll start off today by introducing the panel and the key marketing trends that they're seeing in the food and beverage sector. So for myself, I'm Peter. I'm the Managing Director and owner of We Are Acuity. We've been supporting brands that work across multiple decentralized locations for over 20 years now. And over the pandemic, across a whole host of industries, we've seen a rapid digitization during the pandemic of various industries at a much faster pace than would have happened otherwise. And as we've returned back to normality, we're seeing that a lot of that digitization is sticking, which is a real positive for customers and businesses alike. If I move now to Simon, would you like to do your introduction and give us a bit of a heads up on what you're seeing?
Yeah, hopefully you have got me, because I just had a drop out of my signal, so my apologies. But good afternoon, everybody, and good morning to those from other parts of the globe. Simon Esner, been in the hospitality industry for plus 40 odd years. Started as a KP, became a restaurateur, ultimately ended up as a partner in a business called WSH Limited, where we grew successfully to over $1 billion pre-pandemic. And then about a year ago, I decided to take semi-retirement from that and set up a business called Uncommon Sense, which is focused on hospitality, training, development, motivating teams, motivating individuals, and really pushing the boundaries of where hospitality can go in 2023 and onwards.
Thank you, Simon. And what are you seeing sort of from your side of things at the moment that's happening in the marketplace?
I think the biggest issue at the moment, apologies to start on a negative, but the biggest issue is around the labour force. It's a huge challenge for certainly in the UK and where I am here in mainland Europe. It's a big challenge getting the right people, and so training is a massive part of what we're currently involved in at the moment, in terms of getting the teams up to a proficient level to give great customer service. That's number one. Number two is the cost of goods. It really is becoming a real challenge, but that's a global problem rather than just a European issue. And primarily it's around the transportation of goods and the cost of transportation. But on the positive side, I think it's fair to say that customers are looking for experiences. They are looking for great customer service, great food, great initiatives from the hospitality industry that will draw them in. And of course, it's then down to the providers of that hospitality to give the very best that they can when they have the client in front of them.
Fantastic. Thank you, Simon. Rachel, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us what you're seeing from your side of things?
Sure. So hi, everyone. My name is Rachel McDowell. I'm currently head of marketing for Crep Affair. I've been in hospitality, specifically in marketing, for the last 15 years across TGI Fridays and Mitchells and Butlers. So yeah, Crep Affair, we've got 13 sites, 3 of them are franchise. We've also got sites over in the KSA as well. And I guess currently, echoing exactly what Simon has said, about labour, cost of goods and everything. They are the key challenges. But in terms of like some positive trends and things that I'm seeing from a marketing point of view, delivering those great experiences and, you know, consumer demand now for things that they can put on their social media accounts is huge and growing. So great opportunity for us to make sure that we have amazing looking products.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And last but no means least, Christopher.
Hi, good morning to everyone in my part of the world. I'm Christopher Brown. I head up North American operations for Marvia. Marvia is a local brand management platform that gives you centralized control of brand and decentralized, localized customization and deployment of all your marketing assets, whether it be print or digital. So one of the most important things I'm hearing these days is really about operational efficiency. So that's really where we come into the conversations, where organizations, geographically diverse organizations, a lot of local hubs are looking for ways that they can increase increase their efficiency and reduce their costs, their production costs, and just basically improve their processes. I think that this is a time when people are looking at the ways that they've done things and they're trying to improve their processes.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for that. So the second question of the session is really about how can brands successfully maintain that local consistency. Most brands are spending a lot of money on above the line marketing, whether it's, a big TV ad or big social campaigns and those kind of things. But sometimes that can then sort of evaporate at local level with the customer when they actually come into your local stores. So how do you maintain that consistency? How do you engage those local partners of yours with your national or your major sort of brand campaigns and major brand sort of positioning and that kind of thing? Have you got any thoughts on that, Simon, at all?
I think in terms of engagement with local partners, specifically the way that if I think of some of the locations that we have and we operate now, we work in almost a cooperative fashion with some of the local farmers or the local producers of food, and we piggyback or they piggyback our marketing, so that we may say, as an example, just for this conversation now, our asparagus, which is out of season, but I'm just using it as an example. Our asparagus is grown at the farm, which is 10 kilometers up the road, and that's served here in this restaurant. And you put that out as local marketing. Clearly, you then encourage your customers through conversations by digital marketing and otherwise that they're going to Instagram that, hopefully Instagram the dish that's served, and it's obviously beautifully presented and fantastically served by the team, and thereafter linking it back to the farm. And hopefully if you've got people that are doing some Instagram at the farm, you can take those images and push them out into your campaign. And that's just one example of how we're working with local partners. So using the food producer to piggyback equally an opportunity, because it drives, if they have a farm shop, it drives customers there and clearly drives customers to the restaurant or restaurants.
Okay, and I guess with a traditional sort of centralized model, that kind of thing is very difficult to control from a central point. It needs empowerment of your local partners in order to manage that whole situation, because I assume that the initiative to serve that asparagus is something that is driven by the local manager and the local team.
Yeah, as well as the seasonality of product. So if you think that, which is probably a really bad example to give as we sit here in the end of September to say asparagus, but it's the first thing that came to my mind. I should have said something else clearly, but yeah, it's about that seasonality and understanding where the market is from a food market seasonal. Then, and you're quite right, Peter, it's having that local relationship with the grower, the farmer, to be able to and again, the empowerment of the manager in the restaurant or in the local hub. If the manager, if she's got or he's got 4 or 5 units that they're looking after, having that empowerment to be able to have those communications and discussions with the grower and provider.
Okay, and Rachel, to bring you in, we were touching on some of this the other day when we were speaking about it, and the fact that in some other sectors, so for example in automotive, that the product is absolutely consistent wherever in the country that is being delivered. So the focus in those instances is very much on the brand, the manufacturer brand, and that consistency. But as you said, in food and beverage, the way a crepe is served in York could be very different to how one is served in Brighton. And as your customers now are very much controlling an awful lot of the imagery, the self-generated content, your sampling and making sure that you get that consistent product out there is key.
Absolutely, yeah, you've just nailed it there, Peter.
I've said everything, haven't
yeah,
I? Really? No, but how are you managing that? How at Crepe Fair are you dealing with some of those challenges?
Absolutely. So obviously we have a fantastic operational team, which we roll out our specs of our products. But obviously we see things on social that our customers will share. So we have that ability to go back to the team when things perhaps aren't looking as good as they can be. But I think, when we talk about community and operations in the front line now, I think now more than ever, like for a central function as marketing, having that direct, report straight into the front line is so important, because then you've got that two-way communication between them. You're supporting the team with community, but then also from a community point of view, it's the customers as well. I know you talked specifically about products, Simon, but also for us, it's how do we engage that local community through different propositions, through making sure that we continue and carry out like random acts of kindness to keep them coming back.
And we were talking, weren't we, about the diary of a CEO, which I started to listen to the full thing, and the Pret example of the button, the random act of kindness button, and how in the early days some of their stores were so focused on profit, but they were missing that opportunity to build that ongoing relationship with the customer. I think, as you were saying, Simon, previously, there is a job to get somebody in the door, but then building that relationship whereby the customer wants to come back again and again. So, Christopher, from your perspective, obviously in the world of marketing automation and that kind of thing, you do have the ability to absolutely lock down local marketing, but there's also the opportunity to open a door and to give more flexibility and more input into those local marketing campaigns. How does that work from your perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. I think whether you're using user-generated content or whether the local manager or franchise partners creating content that's specific to their community, I think it's important to know these are not professional marketers, right? So the central team really wants to make sure that content, whether it be user generated, whether it be created at the community level, reinforces the brand and doesn't detract from the brand. So that's really the key point. Often marketing objectives there's friction between marketing objectives and brand building, right? So brand building sometimes more of a longer term thought process as opposed to tactical marketing where you're measuring short-term KPIs. So what the central team really wants to be able to is enable that frontline marketer, enable that franchise partner, enable that manager to be able to easily adapt on brand materials, so that you're on design, you're on brand, but they're still able to customize that to engage their local community and what they feel is important, and to have the flexibility to be able to easily create those materials. One of the things that we see is often the local manager or local franchise owner, they don't have a lot of time. They have a lot of things on their plate. marketing materials, creating marketing is something that if it takes too much time, they just won't do it. And so you want to enable them to be able to do more marketing. And so that's where we see automation come in. That's where we see, automating a lot of the processes so that their materials are automatically on brand. They automatically have their local contact information, things like that, so that they can get in, they can quickly create something that's relevant to their community, and get out and make sure that that gets sent out to wherever it needs to go, whether it be social media channel, whether it be print. They can get in, get out in 5 minutes, get that done, and engage at that level. And the central team is always sure that, that's going to be on brand. That's going to be furthering the brand objective, not detracting from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So the third question we've got is, where is the line between brand and local partner marketing? Now, I guess one of the things that can come into my mind in food and beverage is the chefs, I guess, play such a huge part in the sort of the perception of the restaurant. I'm sure we've all had restaurants that we've gone to and the chef changes and suddenly everything about the restaurant changes and you may not want to go back again. So how do you immerse the people that are coming in food and beverage and serving or cooking the food and preparing the food? How do you immerse them in your brand so that it's consistent, I guess, but still harnesses the individual's flair and that kind of thing? How do you normally immerse somebody in, this is how you do a crepe, it needs to look like this, rather than them coming in saying, well, I've been a chef for 30 years, I know how to do this stuff? What are the sort of things you do, Rachel?
Well, obviously, like all brands, we have a set of values which encourage different behaviours within our business. And so for us, it's about empowerment, and being passionate about what you do and what you bring to the business, and always seeking out like new ideas and looking to be the best you possibly can be. So I truly believe that having those set of values helps your team deliver upon that. But of course, yes, a rigorous training team who constantly make sure that new starters go through the training plan, and then the training doesn't stop then. It continues, and you have to keep going back to it so people don't forget and they don't steer away from the business objectives and what we're looking to achieve. Yes. So yes, training plays a massive part in that for us.
And that, I guess, I mean, our experience over the years is that when you're running a local marketing program, there's two elements to it. One is giving them the tools so that they can market themselves, but there's also that education piece for the local partners themselves, helping them to understand and engage with the brand and understand what its objectives are and what it's trying to achieve. And that, getting that dynamic right is a hugely important part of the whole initiative, I find.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, when it comes to local store marketing for us, that's entrusting that our managers and our ops team understands, they understand their business, right? They're in it day in, day out. I can't possibly be at every single store every day knowing the customer profile that is visiting. So I have to trust in things that they're seeing to make sure that we build the right communications to help them locally as well.
Yes, and I guess that then also comes down to this idea of carrot or stick, really, because again, with different brands we've worked with, I have seen brands that use the stick, and I think in the short term it might have an impact, but in the longer term it alienates the network and it destroys that feeling of a team. Christopher, what things have you found with the different brands you're working with?
Well, I think that's spot on. I think a couple of points come to mind. One is, enabling them to communicate amongst themselves. Sometimes some of the best ideas, some of the best plans can come from a channel where best practices can be shared, or where the manager level or the franchise partners can discuss among themselves what's working in their local communities and share that. From a central team point of view, it's really having the analytics and oversight about what materials are being used, where they're being used, what channels they're being used, and that gives them an overview of the ability to say, this particular location isn't really doing a lot of sort of customized marketing or local marketing, we can see that direct results in the sales numbers. So maybe we need to reach out and to that manager or that franchise partner and assist them in maybe how they can market more effectively. So from a central point of view, really having oversight into what's happening with your marketing materials, who's doing what, and what's working, what's not, really helps inform not only how they can empower those frontline marketers, but also it can help them plan for what materials do they need to create in the future. What does their creative team need to be designing from a campaign standpoint that is working, and really take off from there.
Yeah, and I guess some of this is because of that. Sometimes there can be a disconnect between a head office, which could be perceived as being in an ivory tower, versus the network that feel that they're doing the hard graft. We've often heard, those out in the network saying, well, what do those guys know about making a crepe or selling a car or making a cup of coffee or whatever? They're up there and they're telling us what to do. So you need to get that dynamic right. And I think head office often needs to be fully on board and understand the idea that these people are running their own businesses. They've got skin in the game. They're putting money into this stuff. And if things are not going well, it's not because they don't want it to go well. It's because they need some support, some education, a bit of co-funding. I think somebody touched on already the fact that, these people are business owners. They're not necessarily marketeers. And, how can we help them, and how can we support them, and how can we, bring them into new emerging marketing channels that might be opportunities that they're not aware of. Simon, you said you were saying previously about perhaps it's the brand's job to get the customer in the door in the first place, to raise awareness of the brand. But once the customer has come in, perhaps it's the local partner's role to build that relationship and to engage with the customer and get them coming in. You talked about events, birthdays and various other things to get customers coming back. How important is that human relationship between customers and the actual the vendor?
Well, vitally important. Human relationship is such an important topic. But I just want to come back to and add, if I may, to Rachel and Chris's point, because I agree completely, by the way, with everything that's been said. But I also think at that recruitment point, getting the vision of what we as a business are about is super important, because as Rachel said, you've got to onboard the team. I'm paraphrasing you, Rachel, but onboard the team members, make sure they understand the values, and ensure that they understand how you want that product to be served and delivered with your absolute brand guidelines in place. But it also starts a little bit before that, I would suggest, certainly in my experience, at that recruitment point where you're looking for colleagues to join the team, is that you share with them at that point the values that your brand has, the values that you as a business want to portray. And it could be at that very early point, you find some great superstars who go on to become real brand ambassadors. But also the other side of the coin is that you can find some people that they put their hands up quite quickly and say, that's not me. And that's fine, because not everybody can share your vision and values. So I just wanted to add to what Rachel and Chris had said. But in coming back to your point, or your question there, Peter, the human contact element and the human understanding, for me, is one of the biggest local marketing tools that we have. When we get the opportunity to really understand our customer base. If we're a local restaurant, is to really understand if there's a birthday or an anniversary, make sure that we as the restaurateur and the local team, forget head office, forget where that brand identity is coming from, but at a local level, to know that each August the whatever it is, or September the 29th, it's Peter's birthday. How can we push out to Peter to let him know that we remember that? so that Peter and will come and spend the anniversary or the birthday with us. And again, making Peter feel that we care about Peter, so that it's not just used, our venue isn't just used for a special occasion, but is used throughout the year. And so that human relationship is something that we value very, very highly. And we're just launching a new venue here where I am. And, you know, one of the first things that we've almost got, if you like, a CRM of clients from an existing venue, which is only about 12 kilometers away. So we know that the customer base will travel to this particular venue because it's only 12 kilometers. So we're pushing out marketing to them using the local team's knowledge that we know. As an example, Mr. and Mrs. or Miss and Miss have an event coming up in the very, very near future, i.e. the next few weeks. Let's invite them along to the launch event of the restaurant so that they can feel already part of a new venue, which is only, say, maybe 10 kilometers away from an existing location of ours. So it's, yeah, the human level is super important.
Yeah, the local engagement and the relevancy and the connecting with the local community can probably really only be done authentically from that local partner's perspective.
And we can't do that from an HQ perspective because we don't know the local teams, you know, 12 kilometers away. I'm not going to visit there that often, but the local operational team and the local management team, you know, they've got such a level of skill and knowledge, which is way beyond what we would have at a head office perspective.
So that takes us beautifully on to the final question, and we've only got a couple more minutes on this really, but how then do you encourage your local partners to do more effective local marketing? I mean, from my perspective, I feel it's all about making it easier, centralizing efforts, but supporting the network, whether that's sort of co-funding, building peer-to-peer networks with amongst all of your network, because Christopher, as we were saying the other day, often they will listen more to other restaurants or cafes or hotels. Their opinions carry often a little bit more gravitas than head office. So you put those sort of tools in place, really. Christopher, what have you got any thoughts to expand on that?
Yeah, I think this is where it comes in. You know, this is central team's job to enable that creativity with an eye toward you know, sort of brand consistency. So that's really the crux of this question, which is, you know, how does the central team you know, give the frontline marketers the tools to easily and quickly create you know, the materials, whether it be print or digital, to be able to support that list that Simon is talking about, or perhaps a birthday campaign where you know, central team has given templates or things that can automatically apply the content of whose birthday, when it is, and send that out. So it's really about you know, the central team enabling that frontline marketer to do better with their in-community marketing, to be more efficient, to be faster, and to be more effective. At the end of the day, the central team wants that frontline marketer to do more marketing, whether it's a manager, whether it's a franchise partner. The increase in volume of marketing, especially at the community level, will see a direct impact on sales, and that's what the central team really should be looking to enable in that relationship.
Yes, and I guess in return for that, they also need systems in place that give reporting and allow a two-way dialogue so that they can see who's doing what, who's struggling, who's doing well, and build that community out there in the network so that they feel that they're working together as a team, really, rather than competing with the next pancake house or whatever, as often happens. What's your feeling, Rachel, on that, just to sort of close up?
Yeah, like for us, because we're such a small team, we're very nimble anyway. So unfortunately, we don't have all these big automated machines, which I have worked with in the past, which, you know, generates all those templates and things, which is great because you can be super reactive there and then. But yeah, absolutely, I'm all for local store marketing. and making sure that you're giving the community and your customers the right, as long as if you've got the right team in there, which are giving fantastic experiences, then to drive more people into there, then doing that on a local level is super important. I think the other thing I was going to touch on, which we haven't talked about just very quickly, is just with local marketing now, like Google reviews and the importance of those, and they're such a simple thing. And that goes back to Simon's point about these great experiences, and that's where you can really see it coming through. If customers have had a good time, they take the time out to leave. I've just had one through now, a review on Google. So yeah.
Excellent. Good. All right. Well, we could obviously carry on talking for a lot longer, but we've said that we would stick to half an hour. So hopefully that has been very useful for all our listeners. It isn't, from my feeling is, it's not either brand complete control or free for all. You can bring the two things together. You can bring together that brand consistency, maintain that brand promise, but you can also empower your local partners. And as we go into potential, choppy waters and downturns, you need everybody on your team pulling together to get you through this.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Fantastic. Okay, well, thanks so much, everyone. We will have a recording of this, which we will share out on Apple Music and Spotify, and there'll be a recording available as well. So thanks to everybody for their time. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye.